Joe Walsh, AM 560, The Answer. Former Congressman Joe Walsh on The Answer with you, and I'm joined by a very good friend of mine because I have a question for him. He is Adam Andrzejewski. He's the founder and chairman of a group that we all know about, For the Good of Illinois, forthegoodofillinois.org. Adam, I've been meaning to get you on for a couple days here, and I appreciate you coming on because I went on to Forbes over the weekend online and saw a great piece in Forbes magazine that you had written entitled, Is Illinois' New Auditor General, Frank Mautino, the Next Illinois Corruption Crisis? And Adam, I was most curious. What's going on?
Well, Joe, as you know, Illinois is the Super Bowl of corruption. In fact, we've talked about it previously. Our number one manufactured product in this state is corruption. And there's one office. It's a constitutional office. They are in charge with determining the veracity of state payments to rooting out corruption and waste and fraud. It's the Auditor General position. And it's a constitutional office, a statewide office. It's picked by the state legislator. And the last one, Bill Holland, he had a good reputation. He resigned. And the legislature last fall appointed one of Michael Madigan's legislative lieutenants, Frank Martino, to the position.
Okay.
And so we've been very interested in who is Frank Martino. And with allies, we've started to dig into some of his public disclosures. And we started with his campaign fund. And here's what we found. In auditing the Auditor General in his own campaign fund, we found $213,000 worth of gas and vehicle expenses over the course of the past 10 years.
Wow.
So one vendor right in his hometown, Happy's Super Service Station.
Wow. That's incredible, Adam. Over the course of 10 years, over $200,000 to the same vendor.
Well, and we dug into these records. And so over a 4-year period from 2011 through 2014, on gas and vehicle repair, he spent $120,000, which is like $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
And Joe, you've run successful campaigns before, and I've run campaigns back in 2010 when I ran for governor all over the state of Illinois. Nobody can quite figure out in a small state representative district why Frank Martino disclosed it in his records to the Illinois State Board of Elections that he spent all of this money on gas and vehicle repairs.
Adam, this is a former state rep. He was sworn in this January, correct?
He was actually sworn in December, and he took office on January 1st.
The Auditor General, and as you and others have audited his reporting, his spending, what else have you found? This is, I'm surprised about this.
Well, the story continues to run, Joe. So if you remember back, and we all do, Republican Congressman Aaron Schock. And so Aaron Schock resigned from office in disgrace. He spent about $40,000 redecorating his office with the Downton Abbey motif. He got reimbursed for mileage, alleged about 90,000 extra miles. There's a grand jury. There's a federal investigation into him. He resigned from office. These numbers on Frank Martino could turn out to dwarf the numbers on Aaron Schock. So we simply call on Frank Martino to open his books. He's now the Auditor General. He's got a 10-year appointment. He's in charge with opening those books at the state level and rooting out corruption. And these are the problems within his own campaign disclosures.
Adam, he's got a 10-year appointment?
It's a 10-year pick. So there's 6 constitutional officers in Illinois. There's only one other one with subpoena power, Joe, and that's Lisa Madigan. As Attorney General, and she doesn't go after public corruption, even though she's got 900 employees. The only other one with subpoena power now is Michael Madigan's legislative lieutenant, Frank Martino, and he's got all these problems on his campaign disclosures. The story, Joe, continues to run. Just briefly, today the Edgar County Watchdogs put up a piece, and they looked into the 680 times over the course of the past 10 years and 9 months where he ate at local restaurants and billed it off against his campaign fund. And one of those restaurants is probably family-owned, where his wife at Alfano's, they went and ate there to the tune of $22,000. He spent, and this is pretty incredible, $273,000 with his local bank. I want to read you some of the expenses.
Wow.
So there are 52 precinct walkers at $50 apiece for $2,600 that he paid, and he paid the $2,600 to his local bank. We've got another $10,000 payment to the bank for 44 poll watchers and the like. I mean, we can't figure out why he's paying all this money from his campaign fund for political activity to his local bank.
Adam, I don't know where you'd begin. That's absolutely bizarre. Why would he be paying this Spring Valley Bank all of this?
Well, and I think that's why Susan Garrett, she's a former Democratic state senator. She's now the chairwoman of the Illinois Campaign for Political Reform. She says Martino has to answer the questions, and these expenses certainly raise eyebrows. And look, we agree. He's got to open the books, and not in a couple of weeks, not in a week. He's got to open them now. I mean, these are serious allegations of malfeasance coming out of that campaign fund.
And you're talking about Illinois' Auditor General, Adam Andrzejewski, founder and chairman of For the Good of Illinois, forthegoodofillinois.org. Another amazing job of unearthing what appears to be, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but certainly spending practices over a number of years that need to be looked at, opened up and looked at. What is Martino, Adam, have they responded at all?
So over the course of the past couple of weeks, he's gone absolutely silent on this. He has never returned a message to the Edgar County Watchdogs.
Okay.
To his 2 local papers, they've printed in the newspaper that he hasn't returned calls. I put 2 calls into him before he went live at Forbes. He hasn't returned those calls, so absolute silence. It is unacceptable. And everybody in your audience can review our article at Forbes. We made it real easy. Just Google Auditor, Forbes. It'll come right up.
Adam, and I don't want to appear naive, and I don't want any of my listeners to appear naive. This guy is a former state rep, Frank Martino, is a Michael Madigan lieutenant. Is it unusual that a guy like he got appointed to a fairly important position, Illinois Auditor General?
Well, it is supposed to be a nonpartisan position.
Right.
It's supposed to be an independent watchdog that audits state spending. And in this case, it's Michael Madigan's lieutenant. He was third in command of the Illinois House Democratic machine. And here, Joe, here's the problem. Republican leadership put pressure in both chambers on each member to vote for this guy.
Republican leadership did?
It's incredible.
Wow.
Nobody in the Senate except Jim Oberweis bucked him, and only 10 Republicans in the House bucked him, and most of those were freshmen.
So this appears to be sort of a bipartisan favor, his appointment.
Well, look, this is why John Cass, and he retweeted our Forbes story the other day, he calls Illinois the Combine, and it's Republicans and Democrats at the highest levels playing ball. And I certainly wish we would have more shake-up Springfield in this state.
Hey, Adam, last quick question. The questionable use of his campaign funds, people are so jaded about Illinois, but this doesn't go on all the time, does it? I mean, there appears to be some real questionable spending here.
Look, there about 15% in our estimation of the Illinois political class sees the world the way you do and I do, Joe.
Yeah.
And I think 85% doesn't. Every single time that our teams investigate an Illinois unit of government or a political leader, we find real problems with governance or spending practices.
Right.
If you remember a couple of years ago on the Republican side, one of the Republican leaders, Roger Eddy, we investigated him, and the findings were so terrible that he fled a primary with $300,000 in the bank rather than take it to the ballot box. So it's nonpartisan problems on both sides.
Adam Andrzejewski, founder and chairman of For the Good of Illinois, forthegoodofillinois.org. Adam, quickly, this guy's supposed to be the watchdog Illinois Auditor General. What specifically can our listeners do?
Well, you need to call your elected officials and demand a resolution on the floor of both chambers to investigate him. We need an official investigation as soon as possible.
Open those books, man. Adam, thank you so much for doing this again. Keep us posted, brother.
Joe, thank you. Thanks for your interest in the story.
You got it.